All right. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody getting on the call today to take a look at Omnidek. Some of you maybe have seen Omnidek, some may have not. But what our goal is today is give you an overview of Omnidek and give you some use cases that may be valuable to maybe a manual process that you have today that you're looking to automate, or other areas where you just haven't found a solution and are looking for one. Omnidek typically is the answer when that question is asked. So really excited to present to you today, but let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to walk through just a few slides that give you an overview of the system and give you some sense of what we'll be talking about in the software. Then we'll jump straight into some use cases. So my name is Sailor Howell. I'm with Omnidek. I'm our channel manager here in the United States. Very pleased to be presenting to the folks in Australia at Thrive, a very good partner of ours, and glad to have everybody on the partnership. So if you can see my screen here, basically today's theme is going paperless, curing Appageddon, and better managing a remote workforce. So what does that mean? Appageddon, you may have not heard before. That I'm not sure, but I think it's a term that we've coined. But anyways, you'll understand what that means here in a minute, and it will mean a lot to you. So let's go ahead and go through this. So some of the challenge that we're facing today in construction and real estate is in technology. We have a lot of good tools out there, and but we end up getting a lot of tools into our organization, and some of them don't talk. But let's talk about how we started automation. What was sort of the birth of what we call automation? Well, the way we did work before was we would bring in documents, we would scan them into our scanner, and then we would route them around, sometimes manually if we didn't have them in a scanner, and ultimately key them into our ERP or accounting system, typically Sage 300 CRE or Sage 100 Contractor, right? So this could be expense reports, credit cards, emails, pay apps, whatever that might be, work orders, receiving tickets. But we thought that if we take these paper documents and we put them in an accounting system, that is automation. What we started to learn is, yeah, we were making the documents electronic, but were we really creating automation and real-time reporting on data? Well, we weren't really. What started to happen was we took all these expense reports and these invoices and what have you, and we started to put them into different systems, right? We've got them in these systems, and then we would pull the data out of the systems to massage it and maybe put it back into our ERP. And so what started to evolve was this guise of automation, but the reality of what we were creating is a fragmented versus an integrated approach to data. Now, we see this in every department. SaaS software as a service has become the big thing. We pay our monthly bill or our annual bill for whatever perfect product we have for that particular department, and it may be the best out there. But we've got a bunch of A cards in our deck for every department, meaning different apps that are the A players out there. But when we bolt them all together, we really get a lot of half-truths in our ERP system. So this has started to create this thing we call Appageddon, and it really means that we have all these apps that have just stacked on top of each other. Some of them talk to the ERP, some of them even talk to each other, but we've still built this fragmented ecosystem. So what this has created, and you can see in this slide here, is if we have 18 employees in a particular construction company, and we had 44 apps between Teams and Outlook and Power BI and HH2 and other time solution, HR solution, purchasing, whatever that might be. Across that, we've got 400 connections, 400 usernames and passwords, and we have to manage all of this. And it really becomes kind of a nightmare, especially once you upgrade Sage 300 CRE into Sage Intacct, or you go from 100 to 300. We start to have these challenges where these connections break. So that's its own issue. One other side to that is the cost of onboarding an employee is something that shouldn't be forgotten. It does cost a lot of money to get somebody onboarded and productive. No fault of their own. Sometimes it's 3 to 6 months before we can really get somebody working efficiently in their particular role. Something that slowed that down quite a bit in construction has been the amount of apps that they have to learn to complete their business and be productive. It's no longer, do you know your craft? It's, do you know your craft and do you know how to work these 10 applications that you have to use to run your craft? So is there a better way? The question, and what we would present to you today is that there absolutely is, thus the reason why Omnidek was created. Hence our solution here. So this cross-app centralization slide is meant to communicate one thing: a fragmented versus an integrated model. What you see here on the left side is all of our departments. We've got our accounting department, our field employees. We've got purchasing, human resources, estimating, what have you. So all of these departments are feeding information, hopefully, into our ERP here. After we plug in Omnidek, you can see this orange line. They're all feeding the ERP, but they're also talking to each other. And that's because Omnidek is tying every department together. What's really, really cool about this, Omnidek here at our company, we used to have about 10 applications to run our company. Today we have 3, and Omnidek is one of them. Sage Intacct is the other one, and HubSpot we use for marketing. So we're really talking about Omnidek becoming the wrapper to Sage for every client of Sage and other ERP systems. So should they choose to upgrade to another ERP system, maybe that's not Sage. Maybe you need to downgrade. Whatever that might be, we would encourage you to stay with Sage, but if you have a change coming in your 3 to 5 year plan, you can literally use Omnidek for all of your field applications and forms and portals, and the field would never know you switched ERP systems. We unplug Omnidek and we replug it into the new one. So we're really talking about true automation now that we've never seen before in construction or real estate or really any industry. So what makes Omnidek so easy to use and widely applicable in all these departments is this assembly line approach that we have here. All we do is, if you know how to fill out a form, you fill out a form. And these are all customizable, configurable forms and integrated with Sage and sometimes your other systems. So we fill out a form, then we're going to chat around that form and approve, hold, reject, just like we would on like a Facebook or social networking site. But instead of chatting in Teams or Skype or something like that and having to find this 3-mile-long chat conversation about what happened at the Christmas party or how was your weekend, now we're having relevant conversations around that AP invoice and should we pay it because this new vendor's overcharging us. So, and then the last point here is, once we filled out a form, once we've approved it and sent it around for through workflow, are we reporting on that information? And how are we reporting on it? So we call those insights. So appreciate that if we've used Omnidek for an expense report form to route around for approval and push back into Sage, great. But if we decide, hey, you know what we really need is an HR onboarding system. Well, instead of HR going out and looking for a new onboarding system, just use Omnidek for that. When purchasing wants to go out and find a Procurify or some type of purchasing system, instead of going out and looking for a new purchasing system, use Omnidek for that. And there's no additional training. You don't have the additional cost of another app, the lack of integration headaches, and no additional training. So you remember what we just talked about a few minutes ago, how when we onboard an employee, it takes them a long time to learn the applications to run their craft. Well, now it doesn't, because once they learn Omnidek one time, they can do all the other things and they're already trained. So that's our assembly line approach. So Omnidek really is the replacement to the traditional business office. And this will be our last slide here before we jump into the software, but here's just a few use cases in Omnidek. There's many, many, many more, but you can see PTO requests, timekeeping, warranty requests, pay app portals, customer portals, change orders, daily reports, things like that. So probably for each one of these, you could have an application for it, but now we're doing it in one. So let's go ahead and jump into the software. So this is Omnidek, and Omnidek is a no-code, single-page application. What's great about Omnidek, and I'm going to start with one of our customers here in the United States in Arizona, and they're called Caretaker Landscape, a very big landscaping contractor in the commercial space, and they're a perfect use case for Omnidek because they showcase how it doesn't take any programming expertise or any expertise in software in general to learn Omnidek and to run it efficiently. In fact, to be the admin for Omnidek is very simple. In Caretaker's case, they had a part-time admin that they hired to help with some process stuff and some front office work. They asked her if they would do the onboarding with Omnidek. She learned how to create forms and work within the system. She created one form in Omnidek. This was their test site. And along here, these are all the other forms that she created. What, 60 forms? And we've got everything from inventory transfer sheets, termination report, education, field work ticket, order requests for parts, all kinds of stuff, daily logs, just tons of stuff here. And she did all of them. Easy to use the system, and it can cross departments. So let's actually go in and look at a process here. So I'm going to take us first through through time collection. And what we do in Omnidek, to give you a quick overview of what we're looking at, this is my inbox. And in many times, my inbox here in Omnidek is going to replace my Outlook inbox. We have we boast a 70% reduction in email from using Omnidek in your organization. Why? Because all of those use cases we just talked about now flow through Omnidek and then back into your ERP system. You no longer need to start having a conversation about, hey, where's that receipt for this credit, for this expense report, excuse me. So let's take a look at one of these. I'm going to just pull up a time card here real briefly. And I could just start filling this time card out. I pick my employee name. This is coming out of Sage. So this would be your Sage database. These are live lookups. And if I wanted to fill this out from the field, excuse me, I have a bunch of other things up here. We want to fill this out from the field. It's going to optimize to the device that you have. It could be an iPhone, an Android, what have you, a tablet, and easy to fill this out from here, right? So I just go down here and start filling out my time card, time in, time out, overtime hours. And all of these questions here in these fields are just drag and drop questions and answers. I mean, we would literally build a form like this in probably 4 or 5 minutes. So I put my employee signature here at the bottom. Let's go ahead and sign it with my finger. Maybe I added a picture or something, and then I'm going to submit this, and it will route around for whatever particular workflow of approval that we've set up for that type of form. Now we can get a little bit more complex with this. So, right, we recognize that not every form is going to be extremely straightforward like that. Now we've got what we call clusters, and clusters are more of an Excel grid type view of a timesheet. We built this one in probably 30 minutes. So let me show you what we would do here. If we're doing more crew time, we go ahead and start selecting our employee. Here's my jobs, and I'll just put, this is going to be my day crew. Pick a date, shift type. Who was my foreman on the job? And yeah, there was a supervisor. But I can just start filling this out. We're going to exclude this one from payroll. Here's my total hours, and then 5 of them were on site. But you know what? I want to cost code these hours as well, and only 5 hours are going to go to this particular cost code, but maybe let's do it to multiple cost codes.
And that's drawing the cost code list from Sage CRE, Sage 300.
Absolutely, yeah. These are daily synced, or we could do an anytime sync, and they're pulling into Omnidek, which is where I'm picking them from here. But yes, they would flow back into Sage.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I've got multiple employees on here. I could just go ahead and add those. Maybe I've got some walk-ons on the job. So I can go ahead and add those and then cost code those out as I see fit. But the beautiful thing about this is we recognize that not everybody does time collection the same way. In fact, everyone does it different. So I'll show you another variation of this, but if I were to save this report, then it's going to open up a chat window and I can start chatting with the people that are involved in the approval workflow. But one more thing I want to add to this is this isn't a simple timesheet. We're also capturing per diem. We're tracking equipment usage. We're even pulling in the schedule of values from Sage and updating it and putting it back into Sage, even production units for percent complete. So when we talk about we don't have an updated WIP report, it's 3 days old, that's not happening anymore, because as we collect data from the field and in the office in Omnidek for everything, it's real time. So as soon as somebody presses submit, it's now flowing through that approval workflow, and once it's finally approved, it's dropping back into Sage. So let's take a look at this real quickly. Once I save and submit this report, it's going to open up a chat window. So I can say, thanks for doing a great job, right? So whoever's involved in this chat, and look, I guess nobody was involved in this one, so let's invite some people to it. So we can add people on the fly. Maybe I want to add Brad and Angela and Jim Halpert, for those of you that like The Office. So now they're all involved in this and are going to see my chat message. Please review. So now they'll get an email that will give them a link to come straight back into this particular form, and they can start chatting around it. We're not sending any emails to them about this. And, oh, I forgot to CC that person. Oh, let me resend that other document that I didn't attach. None of that's happening anymore. It all happens right here. But let's go into how we build these forms. Is it easy? Is it hard? And I'll tell you, it's very, very easy. But first, a lot of our users, they'll go to our marketplace. This is a plethora of free reports and forms that, I'm sorry, not reports, these are forms. And we have about 150 of them here. We're adding new ones all the time. And they're by department. And you can come in here and say, you know what? We need a warranty work order report. I'm sorry, form. So let's take a look at this warranty work order form, see if it's kind of close to what we need. And we'll just add the form to our library. So now that's going to show up in my particular dashboard in my library. And what's great is it doesn't have to completely fit my company. I can go in and start editing that form now the way I want. So let's pick on this expense report again, or we were doing time collection. So let's do that. All right, there's our employee time card. And so here on the left side, I have just different answer types, like a GPS stamp. We may want to put in a file uploader or a yes or no, date time picker, a text box. And so all we're doing is we're taking these and we're dragging and dropping them into the form. So maybe with this hourly employee time card, I wanted to edit it if I had the rights to do so, of course. And I come in here and I say, you know what, we need to find out if, let's see, company phone. Let's see if do they have a company phone. Maybe this is for new employees, so they can click yes or no, and then we can report off of, show me all the employees out in the field out of my 200 in the field that don't have a company phone and maybe need one, or whatever the scenario might be, right? And I'm just dragging and dropping these fields here. But when it got a little bit more complex and we were looking at that time collection cluster, the piece that's more an Excel spreadsheet look, all we're doing is we're dragging that here to the bottom. And watch how easy this is to create. So I'm going to just, name this, and I'm going to configure the tab. So the first tab that we had was time, right? So I'm going to just call that time. And in the time tab, let's say I want to capture an assets. Here you can see, this just means it's a linked table to your ERP system. So let's say we want job, we want employee, and cost code, and then number of hours. We're going to put that here at the end. So we're literally creating our time card right here. And to make these connect to our ERP system, this is how hard it is. Look, asset, we're going to tie this to our jobs. Now that's tied to jobs. And we forgot to name it, so let's name it job. That's how hard it is to build this out. I want to do another tab. Now this one's going to be per diem. So just like we had in the other form you saw. So very easy to create these inside of Omnidek. The other thing I'll mention here is that once we, if we have some expense reports or some time cards or what have you, and we need to add up time or do some calculations here, Omnidek works like Excel formulas do. So we've got a reference field here for my time in, time out, and we could call this, A1 and A2, and we put in our expression. So we have a place in here where we can then put our Excel formula, and it'll do math for us. So very, very flexible forms, very, very easy to create, and easy to fill out. But the other side to this, and where a lot of systems fail, there's a lot of people out there doing forms, but a lot of systems fail in how can these approval workflows work for my company? Are we tied to 4 or 5 different criteria, or maybe even only 2 or 3? Well, in Omnidek, it's very, very easy. And especially as a consultant for Thrive, this is a huge tool in your tool bag, because I can come in and create custom workflows for anything very quickly. So I'm going to just call this one a test workflow here. And let's make up whatever, so I'm sitting down with ABC Construction Company, or I'm the COO at ABC Construction Company, and we're having a whiteboarding session right now. So let's talk about where we want our invoices to flow. So once an invoice comes in, we need it to go to accounting. So I'm going to pull in my hierarchy node here, and then I'm going to pull in my accounting department. And we would have set up these in the user setup during onboarding, of course. But after it goes to accounting, we need to put a condition in there. So see my condition here, and I'm going to add a condition, and I'm going to say that anything by a certain amount that's greater than, let's say, $1,000. There's my condition. Then it's going to go to the CFO. And after it goes to the CFO, it's going to go to the controller, right? And we just pick that user here. We say user, and then we pick that user. So very easy to select that. Now, if that's false and it's below $1,000, we're just going to go ahead and send it directly to the controller. And we can make these as complex or as simple as we want. And you saw there's many, many choices on different criteria, and we can add different criteria if you'd like to. So now I've done for that particular form, but there's sort of another challenge that we have with many applications that Omnidek solves as well. Omnidek ships with a hierarchical structure by department. So what you see here is these squares are my departments in my company. These circles are portals. So I might have a customer portal or a vendor portal that we've spun up so the vendors can log in and fill out forms and comment with our company. And we'll get the same approval workflows, and we'll get the messages in our email that, hey, they filled out a pre-qual form, this vendor did, so we can go back in and look at it, right? Well, the point here and the value here is when I've got new users coming into my company, maybe they're switching departments, instead of having to create forms for them and workflows for them and user roles and rights and all of that for every person, we don't need to do that. We can literally pull them in and they can inherit the forms and the rights and the roles and the processes that are for that level of user within that department. So I need to add somebody. It's as hard as picking the user and adding them to this department. Now they inherit those roles and rights and forms and processes and workflows. And if I needed to transfer a workflow or a form to another department, I could easily do that here. So we don't have to recreate the wheel, so to speak. So a couple of examples here that start to make this really come together. And I love customer examples because it shows you that we're really doing what we say we're doing, right? So one of these here is Parfab, and Parfab is another customer of ours. They're more in the oil and gas and industrial space. But what they're doing here, let me open this timesheet. They're actually, well, okay, so this one's not filled out completely. I apologize, but we'll find one here. All right, here we go. Now this one's not completely either, but that's okay. So for their timesheets, what they're doing is many times their timesheets will come in completely filled out without any human intervention. The way they're doing that is they have an IoT device, a facial recognition scanner that sees the guys and the gals when they walk into the office, and it logs their time in and their time out. It even knows their craft based off of the facial recognition and the employee data in their ERP system. So this right here is full of employee data, their craft, time in, time out, all of that. And literally all they have to do is, if the accounting department wants to come in and add any additional data, they can, but it's filling out their timesheets for them. It's routing it around for one level of approval and then dropping it back into payroll into Sage. So, you know, if you've got a client or you've got a location that has maybe a weigh station, or you've got scanners for tool checking in and checking out and inventory, we can do those kinds of things in Omnidek. It's very easy to make it flexible to your process and not have you have to mold to the process that the software was built for. That's the main goal of Omnidek, is to mold to your process. So before we get into any questions, we will here in just a moment. I know we're sort of running late on time, but I want to talk real quickly about reporting. So something that we do in Omnidek in terms of reporting is called insights. That's our fancy word for reporting. But I can create a new report on the fly with the type of data that I want. And here, let me go into my insights on this page, and let's look at our timesheets. Now, every field that's on these forms is reportable. You remember that yes or no question? Did we have a receipt present, or did that new user have a phone? Well, we can report off of any of that. So what I'm looking at here, maybe I want to look at, I don't have a ton of data here, but I want to look at everything by job, but I realize I don't have all the information in here that I need. So let me show my filters here. And this is the one where we were tracking production units. We were tracking the schedule of values, per diem, even equipment. So let's add equipment on there. Let's go up here and add different parameters within our timesheet. So we can do that all here and apply it. But this is all drag and drop too. So I want to see everything for this particular job and everything for this particular foreman. So I'm going to just drag that to the top. Well, maybe not. I just want to look at everything for that particular foreman. So now I can slice and dice this data the way I want, kick it out to Excel. This will even do summations and math for me like Excel will. And, I just want to search for everybody that had regular time, not double time. So I can sort of keyword search these reports as well very easily. Now, what's great about this is this is up to date real time. And if you can appreciate what Omnidek is doing here, is it's not doing like we did in the old days where we got a document and we scanned it in and it was just a static image with whatever data we classified into the system. That was the only searchable thing on that particular image that we scanned into our system. Now Omnidek is giving you the ability to capture information from all these different places and these different departments, where every piece of data that's ever entered is now reportable and searchable. And that's what's really, really powerful about the system. And people talk about real time, but this is real time. It's as quickly as somebody clicks submit and enters that form data. So many of your clients and many construction companies like yourself might have, might be a Microsoft shop. If you do, you're aware that you get PowerPoint, you get Excel, Word, OneNote. You also get Power BI and SharePoint that comes with it. Power BI, I think it costs $9 a user a month, but we use Power BI at Omnidek. And this is our time collection. This is real-time data from our Omnidek instance, which we do everything in. And so we can look in here and see by employee how much time they're spending. Again, this is real time. We can look at our support department and all of the hours associated with where they're spending their time as well. So really, really powerful to start to create business analytics on the data from Omnidek across departments. Now we're not having to pull from different silos of different systems and databases, if that makes sense. One more thing here when it comes to reporting, we also have this other piece called channels. Channels is kind of like a job folder or an employee folder or a folder on that piece of equipment. You can see I've created a few channels here myself, and I've got one for this particular job. I've got a channel for this employee. So Jerry Peters, he's a new employee. We're doing some quality assurance with him. We want to do a little bit of performance analysis. His 90 days is up on his first 90 days. So let's sit down with Jerry and look at everything that he's done. Well, I'm pulling all of Jerry's employee information directly out of Sage right here. It's populating this. Many people use Omnidek for like a CRM system because it's so tightly integrated. The other thing here is I can see every form he's ever submitted in order. And we can start to have a conversation with Jerry around that employee or that piece of equipment, or maybe everybody who's associated with the job at Northwest Food Warehouse needs to have a conversation around that job, but we don't have time to get everybody in the office or on a Zoom call for a meeting. So let's talk here. Any of the reports that you saw, even these, we can drill in directly to those reports. They're made capable to export into PDF, and we can drill into these. And if we have to use your roles and rights, we can affect those reports, even ask questions for reports that were, forms that were 4 years old. Maybe we want to go back, we had some litigation and we need to go back and or an audit and go look at a particular piece of equipment or a particular vendor or what have you. So very easy to report inside of Omnidek. The last thing I'll leave you with before I open it up with questions here, I want to show you what we use at Omnidek, our actual Omnidek instance. I think this is hugely powerful. I've worked with several different software companies over the last 16 years, and what I've noticed is they may have great software, but they don't usually use it. And that's always seemed like a problem to me. If you can use the software that you sell, you should. In Omnidek, we practice what we preach. We use Omnidek for all of our departments. In fact, me as the channel sales manager nationally for the United States, I use Omnidek. Anytime we get a new customer, we do a new customer and onboarding form, and I fill that out here. I do a sales order log. Our marketing department is here, and all of our marketing forms, our development, all of this. But my experience in Omnidek, when my first day, is I did a new hire packet. And so when I did a new hire packet, let me see if I've got that here. Here we go. It's already been filled out and submitted, so you'll see this here. But I submitted the new hire packet off of an email. And I won't go find the email now because we don't have that much time, but I got an email from Chris Jordan, our founder and CEO, and it said, "Welcome on board to Omnidek." And I clicked the link. The link took me into a portal that Chris spun up in about 10 minutes. He just said, "Welcome to the portal," and added which forms he wanted me to fill out. and it took me straight into that packet. It took me about 15 minutes to do my complete onboarding, and this was it. I filled out my name, my address, and it asked for my I-9W4 information. And so you can embed PDFs into Omnidek very easily. You have somebody who wants to electronically fill out a contract or a document. Maybe you want to set up a vendor portal to where you have pre-qual forms that your vendors need to fill out. Well, they can do it here on a PDF, maybe a G702 or G703 pay app. All this can be done here and signed electronically. So I started filling this out, and the button's not here anymore because I've already filled this out, but it allowed me to start filling it out and to sign it electronically. You can see I uploaded my documents here, and at the bottom I signed electronically and then submitted it. And Chris Jordan, my boss, and we had a little bit of chat around the onboarding process. So it's really been a breath of fresh air to use Omnidek, and then also talk to other construction companies about Omnidek. And what we've seen, and the best way to start with Omnidek, I know I've just talked to you to death, but the best way to start with Omnidek and to start to consolidate all of those applications that you got is to pick one or two simple processes that you may not have an app for today, and start to look at, maybe we just look at a few users and start with one small process and see how we like it. So the pricing is very, very fair. The system is very digestible, doesn't take a lot of training, and we really think that Omnidek is going to be the new wave and revolution in technology, regardless of the industry you're in, because of its ability to easily integrate, to easily train on, and to be cross-departmental in its application. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn things over to the group for questions.
I'll just make the comment that I haven't seen a lot of Omnidek, but it looked really, really good, really nice and flexible.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's the first time I've had a sort of a good look at it, and I agree, very flexible. Do most of your users use this on tablets or mobile phones?
Yeah, absolutely. We're starting to see that more nowadays too. I would say before 2020, it was typically just the field doing that and some of the C-suite, but we're seeing a lot more remote employees. So whether it's on a tablet or it's on a phone, it's easy to fill out a form, right? So we have a lot of users using them on tablets and phones.
I'm just sort of wondering how they would go attaching photos or whatever on a phone.
Well, so the way Omnidek will work, so let's say, here, I'm going to just pull one up here. And it's similar to how I showed you before, but what this is going to do, it will optimize to the size of the device, right? But right here, when I go to add a picture, I don't know if, here we go, yeah. When I click select photo on my computer, it's going to open up my file explorer, right? But on my phone, it'll open up your gallery or camera.
Right, okay.
So, and if somebody wanted, if you're on a PC and you need to, you got a bunch of PDFs on your desktop, some invoices or work orders that somebody needs to drag in, you can just drag and drop them into the system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one of those fields, like if it wasn't in the form, you could just edit it to put in a attachment field like that.
Sorry, that cut out. Can you repeat that?
Just that attachment functionality, that's something that you could add to a form if it wasn't present via the edit forms. Is that correct? Is that simple?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just a drag and drop of the image uploader question or the file uploader question. Yep.
Excellent. Any other questions?
No questions from Shane. Just a couple of comments. I've seen it before. I really like it. I'm a convert. I'm just waiting for a job to start using it.
Awesome. Well, I
was out with a customer yesterday, and they were saying, you know, could we add this workflow functionality? I was thinking, yeah, maybe we could do that in Omnidek, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and in Omnidek, and you know, a lot of people will come to us and they'll go, hey, how do you do this in Omnidek? And really our question is back to them, how do you want to do it in Omnidek? Because we can literally make things lay out differently depending on how they want to do it. And something I'll show you guys here, you may have seen this already, but we had a customer the other day that had a daily report that was an output in PDF, and it showed, you know, a lot of the things you might have in a daily report, you know, time collection, equipment, the weather, and it was very, very aesthetically pleasing. And they said, well, Omnidek's not going to look like that. And I said, well, yeah, sure. You know, let's create the form, collect that daily report data in Omnidek, and then the output, we'll just do a custom report and turn it into exactly that. So we're pulling the weather off of that GPS stamp, and we've got all the data coming in from the field, and it's literally giving them an output of that beautiful PDF that they want, and we were able to do it in just a few hours. So that kind of custom work, let Omnidek do it, but man, you guys as consultants, that I'm not very smart, and I learned Omnidek pretty quickly. So you can come in here, and you guys are much more tenured than I am and have much more experience in construction than I do. You can come in here and create your own workflows and do your own things. And so I would just encourage all of you, if you would like to get more training or play around more with it or whatever, give us a call. Let's set it up. So that way you guys can take the reins and run with it. But I wanted to show you here. Here is a pay app portal that we started with Turner Industries. And then I'll show you a quick report output that we did. You may have seen this already, but so we're just pulling the expiration information out of the ERP, and they're getting this PDF report to them in that format, so they can click on this and then update the information, or we can have it in their portal. So their portal will basically look like this. They could submit their pay app based off of that particular project, and it'll take them into the forms from there. So this was their mock-up for their vendor portal, for the pay app portal. And so as they fill out each thing, it alerts certain people within the organization that they've completed that step. And then once they're done with all the steps, then we can go through the lien release portion of it. But then they also have their own inbox. They also have the ability to chat around these documents as well. And as far as report output goes, VIP International, they're a company here in the States, and they wanted an employee performance report, and so we put this together for them. I think it took us 8 hours on this one. But by employee, we're doing employee performance on the type of work. So that would be, I guess, cost type. But now we're looking at everything for Zach and all the cost types. Apologize for this PDF pop-up, and we can see how much they've completed on each one. And this is based off the forms he's been filling out, right? So anyways, so just wanted to show you guys a little bit of that flexibility there.
Looks good, thanks.
So is it the expense, like where would a client start? If you wanted to give them something really simple to start with, would it just be an expense claim form?
Yeah, actually, let me go back to this, that really the simple places are what's easy. Time collection.
Yeah, something easy to build up their confidence, yeah.
Yeah, I would do, really any of it's pretty easy, unless they have, I think some clients with just huge daily reports, or that have just tons of information. Something easy is HR onboarding, simple daily reports, work orders, expense reports, service tickets, this kind of stuff, time collection. purchase orders, change orders. You know, this kind of stuff's super easy because it's just a form. And then you just put the workflow around it, build the form the way you want. Even that cluster that I dragged and dropped, and we kind of did the Excel format, right? That was still super easy to build, and that would be an easy place for somebody to start. But they're also, you know, they're doing production units from the field and time collection. Who's doing that in one place without having to go buy an expensive app, you know? But usually in 4 sessions, and our onboarding is about 4 sessions, the basic setup and training. And we start with a couple of simple processes. So, you know, the give me's that we get a lot of clients from are daily reports, expense reports, time collection. Those are like the real common ones.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes purchase orders and change orders.
See, Ben, we could be using this, you know, the projects and the go lives and things like that, you know, the project milestones where the client has to sign off on.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. And we run into situations too where some clients will go, you know what, we like Omnidek a lot, we want it, but we just can't get rid of this current system that we have. You know, we've got our ERP, and then we have this inventory system, right? And we've spent $150,000 on it. The owner's not going to ditch it. Well, fine, keep it. And what we can do with Omnidek is we have a back end to Omnidek called Dexter. And you may have seen Dexter, but Dexter is a data warehouse and syncing utility to where we can sync and integrate with an Excel spreadsheet, an Access database, whatever, in multiple. And we use Dexter to take the data that's in another database, pull it into Dexter and move it to another place and constantly sync that. So we've got clients that have, you know, their entire price list is on Excel spreadsheet. It's on Excel spreadsheet, and all we do is sync to that spreadsheet, and we pull the updated prices into Omnidek. So they don't know the difference. When they fill out the forms in Omnidek, they're seeing updated pricing for that equipment that they just picked for rent.
Okay.
They don't know where it's coming from, but it came from an Excel spreadsheet. So if you have clients that have these kind of weird scenarios where they need to integrate with different systems and pull data, push data, a lot of times we can help with that.
Yeah, just give me a few ideas there. But one other question I had, the last one for me is we've seen integration previously with Sage CRE. Are you saying we can integrate with Sage Intacct as well? Because we get some.
Absolutely, absolutely. Is the call still being recorded?
Yep.
Okay. What I'll tell you is that we have a very good relationship with Sage. We're a Sage development partner, and we're working with Sage on several things in regards to that. What I will say is that Sage Intacct, it having a public API on the back end makes it very easy for us to integrate with. And in fact, we are proposing to a lot of the Sage 300 CRE base that a good strategy for them would be to implement Omnidek now, get a lot of their processes and their data done in Omnidek. So if they make the switch to Sage Intacct, it literally can be an unplug and a replug.
Cool.
So I don't know, did that answer your question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, what we would like to do to answer that a little further, we would like to white label into some of these systems. So basically, you know, Omnidek just being part of, you know, any particular ERP. So that would be our vision.
Okay. Any more questions? All right.
No, but just a comment, I really like those first couple of slides that you showed with all the different apps and everything. I just think from a customer's point of view, that's a real, you know, talking about how many apps they're running and different programs. I just think that's really interesting for a client to see that, because they know it, but sometimes when people put it in their face, they go, yeah, shit, he's right.
Right. Well, thank you for that. it's a constant challenge for us to take all of the things that we do with Omnidek and try to communicate them in a few salient points. And so we're working on our messaging. So.
All right. I think that's it. Thank you very much for your time. And yeah, thanks. It was great.
No, thanks. That was interesting.
My pleasure. Thank you all for having us.